Can I hear you?
I can't hear you.
Am I on mute?
Am I on mute? Oh, hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear us
Hello?
now?
Yay! Let's go, let's
Come
go, let's go,
on.
let's go.
Let's take that again. What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another panel show. And we have got a debutant on the panel. You saw him on the watch-along at the end of last season. We got Forms with us today. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thank you, bro. How are you?
Yeah, all good, man. I'm happy the season's over. The crazy season of the transfer speculation is in full swing. We've put in a £50 million derisory bid for James Maddison and Harvey Barnes today, so happy days. How are you feeling about that bid, Forms?
Oh, yeah, happy days we put a bid in. Is that getting accepted? Yeah, okay. Maybe 120 and they'll think about it.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my God. We'll see.
We've also got Ash Matic in the studio today. How you doing, man?
Yes, my people, I'm good, I'm blessed. I'm glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me once again. How are you guys?
Yeah, all good, man. The sun is shining, the weather is sweet, and let's get into some Spurs chat. And we're going to start off talking about Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. There's been a lot of talk about his future. You know, his future is very much up in the air. We heard from reliable journalists saying that he's waiting to hear from the club if he's needed for his future services. Forms, what are you feeling? Would you rather keep him? Would you rather sell him? How do you think it's going to play out?
It's a difficult one because I was thinking about this earlier. When you break it down, in terms of like sellable players, I'm putting my Levy hat on right now. In terms of like players that are actually sellable, I'm not talking about Son and all like the actual real valuable ones. Like Hojbjerg is probably one of the most valuable sellable players we've got because he's young, still-ish, 27, which in nowadays football isn't old at all. He still does a job, and I think he'd be very desirable in another European team. So I think in terms of if we needed some cash and we needed some value for a player, Hojbjerg is probably the one to sell. Me personally, I don't want him to go anywhere. I think he still contributes so much to the team, and I think with the likes of Lloris looking like he's heading out the door, we can't lose too many leader roles that we've got in the squad. Because yeah, you can bring in players who typical leaders and like to lead on and off the pitch, but you also need those leaders who have been around for a while and know where the club's headed. And I feel like of all the deadwood, Hojbjerg is definitely not deadwood.
Ash Matic, how are you feeling on the situation?
You can go. You can go. The way I see it is...
I'm
sorry.
You're hurting him, man.
Everything I just said
Yeah, I'm not on board that whole Viking chat, man. Like, I think we can replace Hojbjerg. Shock horror. I think we can replace him. I actually do. For the system that we're looking for, I want someone that is accountable. I want someone that has legs off the ball and legs on the ball. I like someone that can bring the ball from the back, right? From the back and enjoy and connect the midfield to the attacking third and stop Kane from dropping in that hole. I want Kane to stay up there and we have a midfielder that can actually attack and contribute attacking-wise, not just defensively. And in a Ange Postecoglou system, I think balls going forward and not backwards and sideways. I think we can recruit and we can get someone that's a lot younger in that position, in my opinion.
But Ash, he did improve his attacking output this season. I think it was 5 goals, 5 assists, scored some important goals for us as well this season, one against Marseille. He did, I think, had a bit of a poor maybe end to the season. But do you not think maybe in an Ange Postecoglou system he can improve that output even further, attacking-wise?
Yeah, he could improve, but I just think mobility-wise, he's very stiff. In terms of like, we've got too many players that are similar that don't get about the pitch, if that makes sense. That don't have like a strong, I'd say, endurance, like that stamina, that high energy. So like off the ball, they're busybody trying to win the ball back, and then their first thought is to pass it forward. I remember there was like a game we played, and he wanted to do 2 or 3 more touches, and Skip just played it into Perisic, like first time, boom. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like Hojbjerg, he's that man that kind of wants to pass it, keep possession, instead of hurting teams and being direct. I do concede that, yeah, it was probably one of his best seasons in a Spurs shirt for goals output and assists. I do agree, but I think there's better players out there that can do what he's doing. And yeah, that's literally it. I just think Højbjerg's average.
Would you not
Sorry to
blame that
say.
on? Would you not blame that on the system though? And I'm not. Look, I'm not saying that
I hear
Højbjerg
you.
deserves to be a starter left, right, and centre every single game, week in, week out. I think there are definitely better, younger, fitter, more movie roundy players that we can sign. But I just think in terms of the two systems, or the three systems, sorry, in Jose, because we signed him under Jose, didn't we? So Jose, Nuno, and Conte, under those systems, we haven't seen him in a more attack-minded kind of system. Like even in the Danish squad where he sits further forward, it's a system that we see him playing further forward, and we see him actually become a little bit more effective. So I wouldn't mind seeing him in a Postecoglou system, or a, dare I say it, Pochettino system, when it all crumbles and he comes in November.
It's
He can.
interesting. Go on, Nash.
No, I was going to say he can, but I just think there's younger players out there at the moment that can do what Ange wants, if that makes sense. And if we can get value and
Yeah.
money for him, I just, you know what it is for me? I just watch him and I'm like, where's the accountability certain times? He's like, when you're playing football, you have to take risks, even if that pass doesn't, come off. I feel like he's a very safe player and he would prefer to keep possession, pass it backwards and pass it sideways, as opposed to doing the penetrating pass. I'm not saying that, like, I hear your point where if he's further forward in a Poster system, or when he was at Denmark, when he was in the midfield three, he was a little more advanced and he was making more chances. I do get it, but I just feel like in his natural game, he just, to me, for what I see, he seems to, he doesn't have it in him. Like, like there's certain characteristics you could just see, traits of players. You could just see, like, I just feel like that's how I get from him. I'm not saying he can't finish a goal. He's very good at finishing. But in terms of how many shots he will take in front of goal or at the edge of the box, I'm just not sure. I'm not convinced.
Before we go to you, Seb, I just wanted to say something to Ash. Like, we've seen in the past a few players we've chased out the door, Trippiers and people of that ilk. We've chased out the door and kind of regretted it afterwards. I've been on record to say that I kind of agree with Forms. Like, he's one of the ones where he's the most sellable asset that we have, and maybe it's the right time to sell him with 2 years left in his contract. But do you think that maybe there could be a possibility that maybe a year down the line next season, when we're looking at what we're trying to do, that we regret selling him?
I just think personally he suits like an Atletico Madrid or an Italian style midfielder, like maybe like an AC, like a, you know what I'm trying to say, like a midfield, a defensive midfield team that would kind of have a mid to low block. That would be more of his bag. He would suit that style of football, as opposed to an attacking, high pressing, a lot of people running off the ball. Like, I can't see him pressing high and like being energetic off the ball. Like on the ball, yeah, maybe like he's quite busy, but I'm just saying, like off the ball, I'm not too sure. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be mad if he was a squad player. I wouldn't be mad at it. Do you know what I mean? But like Forms is saying, sorry, in terms of trying to sell a player that has a little bit of value that could add to our purchasing power in terms of the transfer market, I think, yeah, we would get money for him, decent money, 25, 35 mil, and that could go towards a younger player that could suit the style and system better. I just think, don't be scared to kind of replace what we have because of past history, like Trippiers and stuff, because then we'll never go forward. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like, it's going to be the same thing all the time.
Yeah, but I got the feeling that, as much as I've said in the past that maybe we should look to sell him, I just got a feeling it could be one that we do regret maybe next season when we're looking at our midfield options, especially with Bentancur out injured as well for so long. Sim, what are you thinking?
Yeah, for me, I think I agree with elements of what both Ash Matting and Forms are saying. I think I disagree with Ash when it comes to. I know Hojbjerg has been pigeonholed into this role of he only passes backwards and sideways. But if you actually look at the stats say he has one of the most progressive passes in the league. So he actually passes forward more than a lot of midfielders and a lot of people give him credit for. I think that if you look back at the beginning of last season, he was one of the form centre mids in the league, let alone just for Tottenham. He was so strong at the beginning. But I think the problem we've run into of Hojbjerg is he's been overplayed way too much, and he's been overplayed in a system where if he gets overplayed, he starts to tire. He very easily starts to get overrun quite quickly, and that's exactly what happened in the second half of the season, especially after the World Cup. I actually do think in a high pressing system, I think for Denmark he presses really high up and he presses the back line quite intensely, and I think he can do really good at that job. And I think actually in the occasions for Tottenham when he is asked to press high, I think he's done that role pretty well. However, I do agree with Ash that I do in terms of I think he's a limited player at the end of the day. I don't think he's getting much better than he is at the moment. And I think he's kind of at his ceiling in a way, Hojbjerg. And his ceiling is a good player. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I think there are definitely players who are younger who can come into who can maybe be a bit more and bring a bit more energy to this Postecoglou team and a bit more technical ability than Hojbjerg has. So on that front, I think if we did get good money, I would be happy to see him go. I just don't think we're going to get the money we want for him, especially from clubs around Europe. We're going to be demanding. I think our opening gambit's going to be like 40 million essentially, or 35 million. I don't think anyone across Europe is going to pay that right now. Maybe you might get a Premier League club being able to stump up that cash, but essentially, the choice, how I see things, is: are we willing to take maybe 25 million for him? And just move on from him quickly and being a younger midfielder, or are we going to have to, or do we see enough value in him to keep him for another year or so, maybe even offer him a new contract, and then see how he develops under Postecoglou? I think in a midfield three it would help him, having runners next to him, not necessarily constantly being just two of them in the middle. I think it does hurt him a bit a lot of the time when he's having to do running for another midfielder and there's all that space, especially not only is he doing running for an extra midfielder, but in the back three that we had, you got Longley and you had Dyer, and he's going to have to do extra running because they're constantly getting caught out at the back as well. So I think that I would like to see him in a Postecoglou system, in maybe a box-to-box role, how he would fare and how he would maybe adapt his game differently to how he is. But I think at the end of the day, he is a limited player, and I do think there are better players you can get.
I think it's also important what Forms was saying about leadership. It will lead a massive leadership void within this squad if he was to go.
Yep.
Exactly. Especially if we're looking to sell Dyer as well. Lloris is leaving. It looks like Kane is going to stay, so he's going to be there. But at least it keeps that bit of the part of the leadership group together as well. And I think
bloody leadership
we
group.
love that leadership group. I don't see who else at the moment out of the midfielders is going to step up and take
Ollie Skip. He's part of the leadership team now.
Yeah, maybe put your trust in Skippy. I guess would I sell him, or I guess if we're not going to get at least 30 million for him, I'd keep him. Essentially, is what I'm saying. If we get 30 million, I think I'd kind of be not happy, but I'll reluctantly sell him if we can get someone who's got a higher ceiling technically than him. Because I just think on the half turn he's not very effective. But I do think he's a very functional player. I'd call him. He can be a very functional player, and I wouldn't be upset if he stayed either.
Forms, you taking 30 million if they offered it to you right now on the table for Hojbjerg?
Look, transfer market says 45 million euros. And I'm one to believe that transfer market's accurate 100% of the time. No, I'd take 30 million for Hojbjerg. I would take 30 million. Because why not? He's only getting older. Actually, no, I'm lying, because that ruins everything I just said. No, 40 million cash right now, and I'm taking it. Nothing less.
But you got to remember, Forms, as well, 2 years left in his contract. Next year he's going to be maybe even less than 30 million.
But it's got to be worth it for us. You look at I can't remember who mentioned it. I think it was you, Ben, who said that Bentancur's out literally until next year, not even next season, next year. So it's like we can't. We're going to need cash to fill that hole, as well as bringing in a more attacking midfielder. So it's like, if we're then selling probably after injuries, our most in-form midfielder that we've got, then it leaves an even bigger hole. So no, 30 million is not worth it. It has to be worth it.
And also, if he has a kind of a good season next season, then I think I suppose we're more than happy to offer him a new deal. I don't see why not.
Yeah, you're probably right. But Ash, what do you think about the leadership void that it would leave in the squad if Hojbjerg was to leave?
Yeah, no, for me, I saw it in Southampton. He was having a chat with them, down a tunnel. And then when it came out, he switched off and it was his fault why I reckon we conceded. And he's the type of man to point fingers rather than lead by example, if that makes sense. That's my biggest problem with it. That's what I mean by him not taking risk. Yeah, he does progressive passing, but in the final third, when it comes to like actually carrying the ball, being assertive, he's quite negative in that sense. And I know like it's down to the system and the style of the manager and the team and the play, but he's part of the reason why we were second half FC, if that makes sense. So there's been periods where he's gone missing and he's there pointing fingers. So this whole leadership group, I don't buy it. I think it's part of the problem. So get a technical midfielder in there, 2 technical 8s, and we're cooking. Trust me, we're cooking.
All right, let's move on and let's talk about Dejan Kulusevski now. Apparently Spurs locked in talks with Juventus trying to get that 35 million euro fee down. We've got just under 2 weeks to get the deal done before he's open to the rest of the market, or Juventus can possibly keep him as well. Forms, what do you think about this whole situation? Are we running a really big risk of losing him here now?
Just get it over the line. I don't get it. What is he playing around with? A couple of million? He's got that in pocket change. Oh my God. He's a baller. He's a baller. He's proved it. And when he's not injury stricken, he's on brick. What are you doing? It should have been literally as soon as the season ended. It should have been the first tweet. Forget, thank you so much for your support this season, because it was a pants season. The first tweet should have been, we are delighted to announce the permanent signing of Dejan Kulusevski. Thank you very much. Give me my ginger from Sweden.
100%. But what about, there's also reports coming out saying that Ange Postecoglou's not fully convinced about Dejan Kulusevski, though.
Get rid of Ange Postecoglou. Especially in a Postecoglou system who wouldn't mind it if his wingers came in centrally. Kulusevski's a 10 as well.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about that man.
I'm 100% in agreement with you, man. Ash, what are you thinking?
It's a funny one because obviously Kulu was fire for Conte at the start or the back end of the last season. He was so hot, pause, yeah. But obviously, season just gone, he was off it. It's like, I don't know if the Premier League worked out that he likes to come inside. Pause again. But I don't know, like, he just wasn't as prolific as the first time. He just kind of just went missing. Like, he was shooting, going wide. It just wasn't, I don't know if it was confidence. Some people say injuries. I'm just like, oh man, I want to see the old Kulu. So I'm intrigued to see what he looks like in an attacking team. I'm intrigued to see what all these players look like in an attacking team, if I'm being honest. And seeing if we get a bit of a manager bounce. Yep, I'm going to be positive. That's what I want to say.
Ash,
So
come bring us that positivity. Come on.
Listen, we've been in the negative for so long. It's only right we have a little bit of balance. But Kulu's a funny one, man. It's a funny one. I'm just hoping we see the old Kulu back. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm hoping that, like Forms was saying, he can be wide, he can come in the middle, he can be like central. He said he likes to play the 10. He's got that versatility. He's strong on the ball. People say he's not fast, but he always beats his man. So I haven't really got a problem with his pace, if I'm being honest. Like he eats, I mean, if we're not going to keep him, I want to see a stellar player. I want to see a top signing. If we don't make it happen, and if Ange thinks he's not good enough for that system, then I think maybe it's because I don't know. Like I said before, it might be a pace issue. It might be if you want someone a little bit quicker that can get down the wing. Because like the thing is, we've got Porro, and for me, Porro's got to stay as a fullback or wing back, whatever you want to call him. He's got to stay back because I want him to do those overlapping runs, and I want the winger to come inside and just bang it. you know what I'm trying to say? And vice versa, they can swap over. But to play Porro as a wing forward, I think just keep your wingers your wingers. That's how I see it. Keep your wingers your wingers. Simple. And like, yeah, he scored 3 goals last season. I think he'll continue scoring goals from that position. Do you know what I mean? But I think if you're going to get a winger in, you want your wingers to score 10, 12 goals minimum. Do you know what I mean? And I think we can get that. Kulu needs to do a minimum of 10, 12 goals. I know that at the end of last season, he only scored 6. But yeah, compared to this season, I think he scored, was it 2? 2 goals and 7 assists or something like that?
2 are good, yeah.
He needs to improve. Yeah, he needs to improve on that a lot. If he's going to help Spurs next season, I'm sorry, he needs to get way more goals in that contribution. He needs to score a lot more for this season coming in.
Yeah, I hear that. To play devil's advocate on the whole Kulusevski situation, in terms of how Postecoglou does like to play.
Don't do it, Sim.
In terms how he does
Don't
like
do
to
it.
play his formation. Postecoglou likes his wingers really far wide, like literally hugging the touchline. He likes the 2 number 8s to basically fill in the space in between the striker and the winger.
Yeah.
The winger's really far outside, and he likes his fullbacks to kind of be centre mids inverted on the ball. So Kulusevski hugging the touchline, is that really where you want him? Is that where you get the best out of someone like Kulusevski, or do you like it? Would you want him more centrally, where those number 8s would be? And if you do want him centrally, do you want to play Kulusevski in that kind of number 8 position, or would you rather trust a midfielder in that position to fill in that space? So these are key questions. I guess maybe that is what the reporter was alluding to Postecoglou not being sure about him. I personally think Kulusevski, he kind of, in a weird way, he prefers to play in tighter spaces than having loads of space in front of him to run into. I think he prefers to be closer to players where he can kind of use his strength to get past them rather than bursting past them with pace. So from that point of view, I do think you would rather him maybe more centrally than out wide. But I do think the system can be adjusted. I think if Postecoglou, he likes his formation in a certain way, but doesn't mean the players have to be very strict to like. Doesn't mean the fullback has to be the one who is inverted. Maybe if Hojbjerg plays, he's the one to become inverted, and Porro can go out wide, and Kulusevski can cut inside. Essentially, he can maybe adjust it in that way. So I do think there are ways around it. And when you look at Kulusevski himself as the player, like 22 years of age, bags of ability, really good at dribbling, assist machine, really good final third decision making. I know it's been a tough season for him, but it's a tough season for a lot of our players. It wasn't just him who struggled. And I think at that price, 35 million euros, if we just assume that Juventus aren't going to lower their price, and that is the price we have to pay, I just think it's worth it. I think as soon as he signs, his price, his value increases. I think we sign for 35, immediately becomes a £50 million player. Mm-hmm. And I think as well, where are you getting that kind of quality for that kind of price at that kind of age?
There's
Where
no one. There is
it?
no one on the market. No one.
I was literally going to say, it's one of them where it's like, if we don't go ahead with Kulusevski, who are we going to find of that quality who's going to cost anywhere? We're going to have to spend at least 60 million, 55 million if we want to get someone anywhere near that quality. And it's like, if we do get rid of him, we're going to have to be spending a load of money, because it's not like getting rid of him brings any money into the club anyway. Keep him, pay the money, move on.
And we also need a right winger as it stands.
He ticks every single box that we want to go for, pretty much. Every single box. Good age.
And like in terms of like wingers that we need, we have obviously Lucas Moura's left now, so there's a spot open in terms of like right winger being in contention for the squad if we want 2 in every position. And even if Kulusevski stays, we still need a right winger. So what if Kulusevski doesn't stay? Then we need 2 right wingers, and how much more money is that going to be? I mean, I know obviously it's 35 million already for Kulusevski, but at least that's one position like we don't have to think about as much. Whereas if Kulusevski goes, you have to go back in the market for a right winger. Then all of a sudden you have to find someone who you think is better than Kulusevski or better suited, and you have to then justify it by the fact that he's going to be either similar price or less than 35 million euros, and he's going to to have to be a similar age. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
How old? He's like 23, 24, right?
He's
Kulusevski?
23.
23. Yeah,
But the
23.
guy is 23. Name me another 23-year-old with the same amount of quality that Kulusevski has for 35 million. There is no one on the market, literally no one that you can get for that price. So, I mean, it's an absolute no-brainer to me. And I think Daniel Levy is running a really risky game right now, trying to lower this fee, because as soon as this 2 weeks is up, you'll have a team like Newcastle, you'll have a team around the Premier League or around Europe that will just go, here you go, I'll give you the money. And then we'll be looking at him banging it out for Newcastle next season. And we'll be like, we literally could have had this guy. We've had him for the last year and a half. Why are we sitting here with who knows on the right wing? You know what I mean? It'll just be an absolute travesty if we don't sign Dejan Kulusevski.
And it seems that he wants to stay as
Yeah.
well. Like
Yeah.
he seems like he's really happy here. He's settled. He's got a good connection with the team. It doesn't make sense to let this one pass us by. And I get it. He's had some shoddy form. Maybe there are some question marks if he's totally suited to that wide winger system. I think there are ways around it, and I don't see. I think there are too many downsides to not doing the deal, and not enough upsides. Like there's too many upsides to doing it. Like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, completely agree. Anyone want to finish off on this one?
Just you wait until Bentancur's back. That's when Kulu's cooking. Like
We have to wait till November, December, January.
he'll do his thing first half of the season, but we've seen how they play together. I'm sitting and I'm biding my time. I can't wait.
Forms is bang on the Kulusevski train. Is Ash?
Kulu's got to stay for me. Like Sim was saying, at the end of the day, we've got another space for another right wing forward there. And if he is to improve, I think that player coming in needs to push him. And I think the coach will get the best out of him, and he'll recognise his strengths and weaknesses and play him accordingly. So yeah, I'm all for it, man. Like you said, the price point's right, the age is right. He's already played for us. He knows what we're about. So it wouldn't make sense to kind of let him go to like a Newcastle, and like you said, Champions League and start scoring goals. We'll be upset. Fans will go crazy if that happens. So I don't think Levy would let that happen.
All right, gimme a ginger from Sweden. That's what we're saying. Let's move on and let's talk about this Son injury. It's just come out a few days ago. Son was talking in an interview saying that he's been playing for the last 9 months, needing a sports hernia surgery. He's been playing through the pain for South Korea in the World Cup as well as Tottenham throughout the whole season, which made a lot of things make sense with his kind of performances throughout the season. And we'll start with you, Forms, on this one. We're trying to discuss, whose fault is it that Son had to play all that time throughout an injury? Is it Son's fault for not insisting on this surgery? Is it Conte for not playing Richarlison or someone else on that flank? Or is it the medical team? I mean, who are we pulling the blame on this one?
I think as Spurs fans, we love to pin the blame on one singular person or thing, but it's
the name of the game, Forms.
Literally, and as I'm learning, I don't think it's one particular person, because at the end of the day, the physio deems a player fit or fit enough to play. And then I guess it's a conversation between the manager and the player. Do you feel comfortable playing? If the player says yes, then the player plays. And if the player doesn't have to get stretchered off or injured to the point where he literally can't move, he's going to continue playing. Then again, you can look to Conte and say, look, if the physio and the medical staff said this is the problem with Son, this is what he needs, he's going to need 2 months or what, I don't even know how long. He's going to need a certain amount of recovery
2-3
time.
weeks or something. That's what it was.
Right.
I would say around 6 weeks.
6 weeks. All right, we'll call it 6.
Cool. Cool. Let's call it 6 weeks. If they turn around to Conte and said, yeah, look, he's going to need 6 weeks, Conte then has to look at his bench and go, okay, do I have enough players to cover that? Yes. In Richarlison and Lucas, and I'm not saying like ready to start week in, week out players. I'm just saying options on the bench we did have. And then come January, when we bought Danjuma in, that just brought an extra option in for Conte to then maybe go, okay, I've got this extra attacking player. He scored on his debut. He's showing signs that he really wants to play. Maybe I can give Son that 2-3 week break that he needs, and he didn't. So if we're going to point the blame, Conte, because he's not here anymore and it's easy. But I think it's probably a mixture of everything, because when you look at you look at Son and you look at how much he loves the club and he wants the club to progress and how much he wants to help the team. He's never going to say no if he's fit enough to walk onto the pitch and kick a ball. So it's a bit of everyone but Conte, because look how he left us.
That's fair enough with Conte, but Ash, I mean, does Son's eagerness to play, did that put him in a bad situation this season potentially?
I mean, considering that he wasn't even on form and he was like not playing too well, I would have thought, you know, if you're not feeling 100% and there's a new guy that's in, eager to start, wouldn't you just say, like, you know, my broski, like, jump in? And I'm not saying for like every single game. I'm saying I saw Richarlison come on after he come back from his injury, and Richarlison was always taken off before Son. I always saw Son staying on. So I just thought, wait a minute, Richarlison obviously is coming off about 60 minutes. Like, that was the first go-to. If Son's really in pain or if it's affecting his game, as he was saying, then surely if he starts the game, then 60 minutes, he's not quite feeling it, then come off. But that never happened. So on Son's part, to be fair, it's a bit selfish. If you know, it's different if he was coming and he was scoring goals and, you know, the form was up and, you know, he's paying for the injury, but, you know, the team needs him. You know what I'm saying? A bit like a Harry Kane situation where, you know, Harry Kane might be injured and that you'd understand that because you're scoring all the goals. You're the breadwinner. Yeah, you're the breadwinner, innit? So I kind of get it. But where he was like, yeah, he wasn't on form. So, and for him to come out now and say it just seems like, I'm not gonna lie, it sounds like an excuse to me. It sounds a bit of an excuse. I feel bad for any other player that was trying to get in at that time. Do you know what I'm saying? The options were there, but, you know, you're just taking up an next man's space, and things could have been different. If players like, because certain players that were coming on, like for example, let's say Dan Juma, he was coming on with like 10, 15 minutes to go. If he had more like 30 minutes, more 20 minutes, you know, because as players, you need to get your legs ready. You need to get in a rhythm. You need to get that kind of, when it's stop, start, it's harder to get in a game, especially when a game started. So, like, yeah, obviously Dan Juma only got one start as well.
Last game of the season as well.
Last game of the season, and people are like, look, see, told you wasn't good enough. What do you mean, bro? Like, he didn't even start. Like, are you all right? I'm smoking this, but for real though, like, I would see me, like, the way Dan Juma handled it, he was so professional, and he wrote the letter and was like, yeah, thanks guys. Me, I would have been cussing. So you lot are donuts, man. I ain't even coming back. But like, you know, can't go against Son because obviously Son's our savior. So I will go with forms as well and say it is a mixture because the manager's got to stand up. And I wouldn't go at just Conte. I would say I'll go at like Stellini, Mason, because it was at the back end, wasn't it? Really? Because obviously he's going through the Champions League. He had to wear the face mask, whatever, whatnot. And Mason, Stellini were in charge of that. They would have seen that. They would have had that discussion with him. The medical team, again, would have had that discussion. So for me, they're just as much as fault as Son is, you know, not for speaking up, not for saying. And him coming out now saying, oh, yeah, I had an ab injury, so that's why I didn't play well. Like, do you know what I mean? Because even I heard him in certain post-match games say, oh, the manager's asking a little different from me tactically, and I'm having to adjust and learn. So I don't know. It's like another excuse. Just say, right, it was a bad season and done it.
I'm actually thinking to blame Sonny a bit more on this one than the other two, than the medical staff and Conte. Because you've got to think about it. 9 months ago, we were in October. The World Cup was just around the corner. We know how influential Sonny is for South Korea. He would want to make that World Cup by hook or by crook, and no matter what, he's not missing that World Cup. So I think he potentially just put it off till the end of the season just to play more games for Spurs and make sure he made that World Cup squad for South Korea. So I think Sonny's just as to blame as anyone else, to be honest.
I don't understand. Like, when he had that eye injury, why didn't he just get it done then?
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is a bit peculiar. I wonder how honest Son was being during the season in terms of how much it was affecting him, or maybe, as Ash Malik says, he's just making the excuse now because he's claiming that during the season he's only been at 60% of his capacity. That's what he's saying now. Now, if that's true, and he never said anything during the season, he has to take blame for that. He has to take responsibility for that because he could have fixed that issue. And if he just kept on saying, I'm fine, I can play, and you were actually at 60%, and he never actually admitted how much pain he was in, that's got to be on Son. But if on the same side, if he said to Conte, look, I can play, but I'm only at 60%, and Conte said, all right, I'd rather a 60% Sonny than Richarlison playing, then Conte has to take responsibility as well on that aspect. It depends how much information each one was privy to, I guess, is the point. But I think Son ultimately, at some point, especially after the World Cup, if he said, oh, look, I need to get to the World Cup, I think after the World Cup he should have put his foot down and said, look, I just need the surgery, if it was bothering him this much. Otherwise, I agree with Ash, it's just an excuse. I don't think you can come out after the season and say, I've been at 60% for the whole season, that's why I've been struggling, when you did nothing to rectify that situation. You have to take responsibility for that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But look, I think everyone needs to take responsibility in this situation. If you're only playing at 60%, I mean, how many times did we all sit here talking about Sonny week in, week out, saying he needs to get dropped for at least a game or two. He needs to come out the team. We've got Richarlison waiting in the wings. We've got other players there that can come in and fill the void. Let's see what they can come on and do. And we never saw it. Conte just kept playing Son after Son after Son, game after game after game. And he was poor up until like the last, few weeks of the season. Pretty much he was poor throughout the whole season. So are we expecting a much better Sonny next season now this is out of the way then?
Hell yeah. There's no excuse now. Because even if there's not, he shot himself in the foot. Because if he's come out and said, look, the blatantly, here we go, I will give you the one and only reason I've not been playing 100% is because of this injury. Well, cool. You've got the summer to get your injury sorted. And then when you come back, if you're not hitting it as hard, what you can do, wait till the end of the season to go, I still didn't get that injury repaired. There's no escaping it now. But I'm hoping that he is right in saying, and he's not lying in the sense that it's literally just an injury problem, because if it is, then once he sorts it, he's back to Sonny. So I hope for everybody's sake that it gets sorted, but if it doesn't, then we'll know the truth.
Ash?
Ooh, I'm Mr. Echo. Basically what Form said, because it makes sense. They're like, you've got nowhere to turn now. You can't come now and say, my ankle hurts, or no, my ab's still hurting. No, you need to perform now. Now you're an attacking team, and I think maybe that could be a part of it. Maybe he sees, it's an attacking style football. It might suit my football a bit more. Maybe that's why he's saying and coming out with these type of comments. I don't know, but I've got a feeling that's what I reckon it is.
All right, well, let's move on to the last topic of the panel, and we're going to talk about Harry Kane. The rumours between Manchester United and Harry Kane seems to be going away right now. Real Madrid rumours seem to be going away as well. So, Forms, how do you see this one playing out? Do you think he'll stay for the next season? And if he does, can you see him signing that dotted line and signing long-term to Tottenham?
Oh, can I see it? Yes. Can I see it because I want it? Yes.
We're not talking about your dreams, Form. We're talking about reality here.
You know what? I can see it. I don't necessarily think we need to win a trophy for him to then extend his contract, because I think if he doesn't extend it by January, it's too late. We've lost him. I can see him staying. I think it's dependent, because if the reason he's staying is solely because Daniel Levy was like, okay, give me 200 million Madrid, and Madrid went, do one, and he's had to stay because Daniel Levy's like point blank refusing to sell him, then it's like, okay, well, Harry Kane hasn't been given his way, but once he's got the freedom to, he's got every intention and every right to go and seek his other options. But if he sat down with Daniel Levy and Daniel Levy's gone, look, we know how valuable you are, we don't want to sell you. And he's gone, look, I love this club. I'm a club legend already. I have got every intention to stay. I just need a little bit more time. Like, let's see how this season pans out. Then cool. I can see him signing a deal. It's all dependent on, I guess, Daniel Levy in that conversation that Kane's had with the chairman, because there's no doubting Kane loves the club. There's no doubting he owes his entire career to all the things that have happened at Tottenham. Yes, there's no trophies, but look at all the individual accolades. So it's like there's no reason for anything to turn sour. So I can't see him turning around and being like, yeah, no, see your piece, I'm out. There has to have had a conversation, or there has to have been a like intention stated between him and the chairman for him to go, yeah, now see it, I'm out. Like, I think if Harry Kane's staying, there's something in the back of his mind that's like, well, maybe I can be a club legend and stay here forever. Because he said that in the past.
He has said that.
Yeah, I mean, Ash, do you think that's a possibility, signing on the dotted line and becoming a one-man club, Tottenham legend forever?
He's a Tottenham legend. He's a Tottenham legend forever. He's already.
Yeah,
He's just got a mirror. He's got a mirror. He's just got a mirror on the wall.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But will he sign on the dotted line and be a one-club man?
This is what I'm getting at. Does he need to be that? Does he need to do that? Does he need to do that? Because he's already got.
Will he do that? Will he do that?
No, I'm getting there. I'm getting there, my boss. Let me stop
butting in then. You do your thing.
No, that's cool. It's cool. I'm a land safely. But basically, what I'm saying is he's already broken. He's already broken the record. Yeah, hold tight to Danny. Yeah, hey, he's already broken. He's already broken the record. He's got Greaves' record. He's got it. He's got it in the bag. It's done. He's got the painting on the wall. Boom, boom, boom. Right. He's England all-time goal scorer. Boom, done. Yeah. What's next? What more?
The Premier
there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee.
One of those shiny things, you know, that you lift up.
Listen,
yeah, you know, one of those.
There's no guarantee. He's already look. We're in a project. Let's get it right. We're in a project right now. I can't see Spurs. I mean, it might be the fans' expectation that we'll win a trophy like a FA Cup or a League Cup next season, or this season coming into, whatever you want to call it. But the media are onto him. I'm telling you. They were onto him last time 2 years ago when Neville come down, Shearer come down, all the man them come down. They were like, listen, don't stay at Spurs. Don't make the mistake and be that guy where you win nothing. Because that's your people. You will never be a legend. You need to do it for yourself. And like, we commend you. Like, obviously Totti did it, but even Totti won something. You know what I'm trying to say? He was the one man. Gerrard did it, but even Gerrard won something. Do you know what I'm saying? If you want to be a legend, we just finished 8th. I know it's like, me as a Spurs fan, I'm not happy with the way we finished. And I feel like we failed Kane. But the way he was moving when City came around, man started twerking for them, I'm saying, raw, look, boom. I reckon he's had that conversation with Levy, and he said, look, I'll do my best to help you guys out. You know, I'll carry on. But you've already screwed me over that gentleman agreement. I haven't forgotten that. And I can't see him signing. I can't. After that Arsenal, that North London derby. Did Levy
screw him over, though, that summer? Did Levy really screw him over? Because Man City never stumped up the actual cash was what he was worth.
Yeah, I know, but it was just the fact that I don't think Levy was even entertaining. That's the thing. That's why I don't think... It's different if Tottenham came out and said, you know, like Kane was like unhappy and Tottenham were like, all right, cool. Let's talk to City or whatever. They didn't entertain it at all. And I think that's why Pep came out with those comments that he came out with. But I just can't see any way that Kane signs a new deal with Spurs unless we somehow miraculously have an amazing season. Even if we were to win a cup, even if he was to lift the FA Cup. You saw what happened with Rice. My boy Rice lifted up the European trophy and it was like, thank you. You know, this is a nice send-off.
He won't be your boy for much longer, I tell you that.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely not. But what I'm trying to say is, with Kane, he's not going to, even if he lifted the trophy, I don't think that would change his destiny as a professional footballer. Not as a football fan or loving the club or all the rest of it. I'm telling as a and you know Kane's a man to stay in the training ground when the training ground lights are going off. He's still there practicing. You see what I'm trying to say? He's got a different level. Like they call him, a mentality monster. If he's really a mentality monster and Spurs finish 8th and we've just started a new project, I just can't. I can't. Even if we start doing an upturn of form, I still can't see it. I don't think he'll sign. I'm being honest.
Yeah. How do you see it playing out, Sim?
I mean, it's still so early to to make any sweeping judgments. But I think this season now, in terms of him staying for next season, I think that's virtually guaranteed at this point. I think if Madrid aren't going to come in for him, I never thought he was going to go to a rival. I never thought we were actually going to sell to a Premier League team this summer. So I did think if Madrid actually seriously came in for him, I thought there was a real serious possibility he'd go there. Now that seems to be off the table with Mbappe potentially going there. I think it's virtually guaranteed he'll be here for another year. Now, whether he signs next season is all very dependent on... first of all, I think it's very dependent on what happens around us in terms of other clubs, who they sign, in terms of strikers. Are those positions going to get filled up or not? And also, a lot of it depends on Tottenham themselves. I genuinely think if there are signs of progression at Tottenham, if Man United sign a big striker like Osimhen or something this summer, and Madrid sign Mbappe, if those slots get filled up, and Tottenham are genuinely showing signs of progression, then I don't think he signs it in January. I do think he's going to give it the whole season. I think he's going to make us really sweat. I really believe that. I think it might even go up until like May, June, up until these signs. A bit like Mbappe last summer, where he made them really sweat. I really envisage a situation like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if after that scenario, if Tottenham really are showing signs of going back on the up again, and he has a good season himself, and we've got a good young team together, that he does actually give us signs another maybe two-year deal or 3-year deal with us, and commits his future.
What is signs of progression though? What's enough of signs of progression to keep Harry Kane at the club?
I think clearly showing the football going in the right direction. I think back in Europe,
Europa
obviously
League enough?
I mean,
Conference
on
League?
the face of it, no, but Conference League, I wouldn't say. I mean, depends. I mean, I don't think it's so hard to say because it depends how we're playing. It depends if you can see where we're heading, and I think maybe a good cup run as well. If we can, I mean, not necessarily win a trophy, but take the trophy seriously and have a really good crack at those trophies.
As in, not go out to Middlesbrough or Sheffield United.
Yeah, just exactly. Take them, play your first team, have a good go at them, and not just piss away the trophies like they're nothing, like we have been over the past few years. And show him that we really want to win a trophy. We're not just here to get top 4. We want to get trophies in your cabinet. And I think that has. I mean, we have no excuse now this season, and we know Europe anyway. So this is the season to do it if we're going to do it. I do think there is a serious possibility that he does sign in the end of next season. I really do, but I do think he's going to give it a long thought and a long process. But if at the moment it seems if next season happens, and it seems as though it's still going to be another 2 years or so until we're competing, and we're still trying to find ourselves, which is probably the reality next season anyway, because there's still a lot of movement to do. And if it seems as though we're still going out the cups early and things like that, then I think he probably will turn around and say, look, I've given you everything. I'm not going to sign a new deal and I'm going to leave on a free. But I do think the fact that this summer he is staying, I think there was a scenario where even if we were doing well, he wasn't going to sign for next season, because he knows that there's a spot open for him at one of these top clubs. But if Man United and Madrid have that striking position locked down with Mbappe and, let's say, Osimhen, just for example, I'm not saying that he wouldn't back himself to take the spot off them or whatever, but I think now is a scenario where he might look at that and think, I am Mr. Tottenham. I do want to be I do want to basically win stuff for Tottenham. I do love this club, and if I'm not like going to a top club and being like that main man feel kind of thing, then I am better off just staying here. I do think there was a scenario where even that wasn't possible. If like Man United don't sign a striker this summer or stuff like that, I even think there was possible where even if we were doing well, he would still not sign. But I now think there's a situation where if we're doing well, he might actually consider signing.
I just think that's wishful thinking, man. I really think it's wishful thinking. I think when you're thinking of Harry Kane, right, if he doesn't go anywhere this summer, regardless if Man U sign this one, if Real Madrid sign that one, if Harry Kane is on the market on a free transfer, there is not one club in world football that says no to him. There's not one club in world football that is going to just pass up on Harry Kane just because they signed a striker, or they have this one, or they have that one. They sign Mbappe, they'll fit Mbappe, they'll fit Kane in the same team. If they sign, I don't even think Man United are going to sign Osimhen, but if you sign Osimhen, Harry Kane is better than Osimhen right now, so Harry Kane will come in ahead of Osimhen in that team, and you'll fit a way to find both of them in the team. So I don't see a way where Harry Kane doesn't leave in the next 2 years. I really don't. I cannot see him signing that contract whatsoever, even if it looks as though Spurs are going on a bit of an up. I don't think it's going to be enough of an up to keep Harry Kane at this club. What are you feeling, Forms?
I mean, off the back of that, it's like on a personal standpoint for him, I'm pretty sure he'd much rather score 3 goals and hold a Champions League trophy at the end of a season rather than score 40 goals and like bottle a Europa Conference League semi-final. Like he's too old to care about the start of a project. If we were building and we built a couple, and the last few years had worked and we built some foundations, and he's is he 30 or something like that?
29, and about 30 this summer, yeah.
Fine. So he'll start the new season 30. So he'll, if we were in the middle of a project or we'd laid some foundations and it was really looking like it was going somewhere, and it was like, okay, cool. Well, maybe in 3-4 years' time, I'll have a couple of FA Cups under my belt, a League Cup. We might have a good European run. We might end up with the Europa League. That might have been enough for him. But it's the fact that we are quite literally at ground zero. And I genuinely advise every single Tottenham fan all around the world to have zero expectations for the next 3 to 4 years, because we can't. Our egos are too big right now. We are nowhere near the level we think we are. So it's like, Kane sees that. He's part of it. He's central to it. So he'd be silly if someone like Madrid was calling, even if Madrid was calling to say you're going to play number 2 to Mbappe, which would never happen. But let's say hypothetically that was to happen. Kane would go to Madrid because he's well within his rights to. He's earned his move. And I know they're completely ends of the spectrum in terms of their career. But look at Bellingham. The past couple of seasons that he's had, he's shown how he can command teams at 19 years old. And he did what he did at Birmingham, got a shirt retired, whoopee, went to Dortmund, absolutely smashed it out the park in Germany at such a young age, was a leader on the pitch, does what he's done for England so far. He's earned his place in that Madrid squad. He's earned that number 5. What, you think Harry Kane hasn't earned his place at Real Madrid? He'll know that. So if a big team comes along, makes an offer that Daniel Levy can't refuse, or even next summer when Kane's on a free and Daniel Levy's saying, yeah, shiny contract, project, and you've got a massive team like Madrid or United or whoever going, here's the door, in he goes. There's literally no debate, and as Ashmack said, like he's already a club legend. There's nothing else for him to prove, and I think he'd much rather go and have a fresh start at a club that's known for winning trophies rather than finishing his Spurs career with a League Cup. Like, yeah, cool. Everyone's saying he needs trophies in his Arsenal to be able to
not in his Arsenal, himself. Never in his Arsenal.
He needs trophies in his cabinet to be able to certify his place as a legend or as one of the greats of English football. But realistically, if he ends his career with 2 FA Cups or a League Cup and an FA Cup, is that really that much better? It's like, cool. You didn't live up to your potential regardless. Go to a world beater, win the Ballon d'Or, and then we've got that man over there to pick up the pieces when he
do a diddy dum diddy do.
1 goal a season, I can't wait.
That's going to be worth so much money when he wins the Champions League with Tottenham, I'm telling you.
We need to get into it first. Ash, any replies to that one?
Bruv, it's just sometimes, guys, the obvious answer is the answer. You know, like that.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's quite as a thought. Like, I'm taking my Spurs hat off, my T-shirt, my love of the club off, and I'm just saying I'm calling a spade, and I just can't see it. I'm being honest, I can't see it. And if he does manage to sign, then you start thinking, right, is he really a mentality monster? Is he really that ambitious? Is he really that? Because the idea I have of Kane is that he wants to get to the very top. He wants to be the very best. And he's done that with Spurs. He almost got over the line with Poch. We came second, third. We got to Champions League final. Obviously, he didn't turn up on that, but that's a different debate. But do you know what I'm trying to say? He was closer then. And if he decided to leave then in 2019 or 2020, whatever, and say like a club came in from like Madrid, then even then I wouldn't be mad at him, if that makes sense. Because they're like, oh, we almost did it with Tottenham, now another. But look at the season. Look at the last 3 to 4 years we've just had. Bro, that's I don't know. For me, like, it just makes sense for him to go to another club. If you're at Puma, you want to go to Nike, innit? I'm not saying we're Puma, by the way, but I'm just saying that Nike's
we're
you
not
want to go to
Puma,
the
we're
seller
bloody
auction.
Pony. That's what we are.
I didn't want to say it, my bro. That's why I kept quiet. I had to go up a level. I was like, nah, really, we're Kappa. But I was like, nah, it's too rude. New Balance. I said, nah.
Sim?
No, I stand by my thoughts. I do think the likelihood is at this point he is going to not sign his contract. If I'm talking like percentages, I'm saying like it's probably 90% he's not going to sign.
Sounds like a flip-flop to me.
Not really. In fact, this is exactly what I said before. I would say it's probably at 90% he isn't going to sign. However, I'm saying maybe a few weeks ago that I don't think there was if other teams were serious about him and seriously came in for him, I don't even think there's a scenario where even if there was light at the end of the tunnel at Tottenham, he would sign. I do think at the moment, but just because like he said it before, like many times, that he admires people who stay at clubs for such a long period of time and are one club men. He sees it as something that's a bit romantic, not something to be made fun of. And I still believe he believes. I know it hasn't happened at the moment. I believe that he thinks that. There is a chance he can win a trophy at Tottenham if he does stay here, but the way we're going at the moment, the mess we've been in the last 4 years, the fact that he did want to leave a couple of years ago to go big things, and ever since then we've still gone backwards. Since then, we haven't even pushed on, which is what we tried to do when we kept him. Obviously, all that leads to the fact that, and as well, he was got embroidered in that whole thing with Levy about the gentleman's agreement, and that probably rubbed it up the wrong way as well. All that probably culminates in the fact that he is extremely unlikely to sign a deal with Tottenham, and he is probably going to leave on a free. But I do think a part of him does want to see out his career at Tottenham and wants to believe kind of that we're capable of doing it. And if he can be convinced that we are capable, I do think there is a scenario where he does sign, but it's going to take a hell of a lot of convincing. It's going to take something special this season, in my opinion, to convince him to extend his future at Tottenham. But I think it's so far away at the moment. I do think that scenario is very far away.
Don't you think that he could do like a Sheringham where he kind of goes off, wins a bag of trophies and comes back? Do you not think that kind of plays in his mind? Because I would have thought that he might have had that conversation with Teddy. I think Teddy might have had that word with him. Both club legends, I'm pretty sure they might have spoke at some point. Mm-hmm. Do you think that would have entered his mind?
I said that as well. I thought that as well. Like he could go to Madrid for like 2 or 3 years and then come back 100%. I do think part of him doesn't want to leave on a free. If you are I think part of him would rather get a fee for us if possible. Like I don't think he wants to be seen as someone who's kind of not going out the back door, but leaving in a way, some would argue screwing us over. I'm not saying he is, but if he does look like he's an extreme, one of our best players of all time, and if we're not going to get a significant fee for him, in a way, some would see that as screwing us over. But I think in a perfect world, he does want to do that. But at the end of the day,
he doesn't care.
I think he does. I think he does.
Why? But no, because then he'd be a chairman of a football club. He's a footballer. What's on his mind is professionalism on and off the pitch, and he understands football business. And if you're end of your contract and you want to go to another club, you're well within your rights to do so. I don't think.
I agree with that. I'm not saying he's going to think about that before signing. I think, and I'm just saying, in a perfect world, I don't think he would want to leave on a free from Tottenham. I think he would rather want to be sold in a perfect world and get a good fee for us, in my opinion. I do believe he loves Tottenham. I do believe he has got a strong connection with us, and I do believe he doesn't want to end on sour terms, and leaving on a free maybe would sour it a bit because we're not getting a good fee for him.
I don't think it's.
I think the opposite. I also think the opposite. I think if he had 3 years left on his contract and he went for big money, on the flip side, that could potentially look like he forced a move, and he didn't want to wait out the remainder of his contract and be respectful. So I think there's two arguments to be had. But but
if he leaves and we're not getting a fee, that money could be used to replace him. All of a sudden, we're not getting that money. All of a sudden, we have to replace a £200 million striker with nothing. You know what I mean?
It's not his problem, though.
I know it's not. I'm not saying it's his problem. I'm saying in a perfect world, I feel like I remember when he spoke to Gary Neville and he was talking about potentially moving on. He said, look, he was like talking about, maybe Tottenham want the money for me. Maybe they'll take the 150 million. Maybe it'll be good for Tottenham to have to get that money. I think that is on his mind.
I think he was only saying that because he had 3 years or 4 years left in his contract at that specific time, and he was desperate to leave.
Yeah,
that's the only reason he was saying it. Now, with only 1 year left in his contract, I genuinely don't think it crosses his mind, like if Spurs are going to get money for him or not. He doesn't owe anything to this football club anymore. He's given us everything that he's had. He's our top record goal scorer of all time. Like Ash said, he's etched in the club record books. Now, no one's ever going to beat that record for a number of years. So he owes us absolutely nothing.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with any of that. That's true, and I wouldn't begrudge him at all if he was to leave. Some fans would, I think, if he left on free. There would be a very, very small minority of fans that would. But I don't disagree. And if he left on a free, he's well within his right, and I think he's earned that move. I just think a part of him still wants to be convinced that he can do something at Tottenham. And if he can be convinced, then I think he will sign. I think a small part of him still wants that. I really believe that.
Look, I agree. I think he does want to be convinced. I just don't think it is possible to convince him.
And that's,
I think that's the situation we're in. But look, let's leave it for there. Thank you so much for joining us on the panel today. Do you want to just go through the chats quickly?
Yeah, we've got... sorry, I think I've missed some. They've disappeared. But I've got Rich Frith with a members chat. He says Big Ange will get July back to his best. Big Ange will get July. What, the best month?
Bring on July, people! Bring on July.
Back to his best. I'm not 100% sure what he's trying to say. Maybe it was about something before. GK Midi says, "This is our year, top 4 finish and 2 trophies."
Come on, it's happening.
What is GK?
GK Midi says it, so it must be happening. It must be happening.
What is he drinking? I want to know.
But I want to say thank you to Forms, thank you to Ashmatic for coming and joining us today. Forms, tell the people where they can find you, my friend.
Literally everywhere. Just type in Forms and you'll see my face. And if you like music, I'm a rapper. Go on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever. Go type in Forms and have a little listen. Thank you, boys, for having me. It's been great.
And we saw him on his star-studded appearance on Sky Sports as well. So big up for that one. Ash, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on a View from the South Stand or at Southview Quays. We've got something coming up tonight. Just a quick reaction of the actual fixture list coming on.
It's not more Arnie Slot content, is it?
No, it's not Arnie Slot content. No, unfortunately that's done. But yeah, I'm back on again as well on Tuesday, just to do another quick review of the transfers or players that we've been linked with, should I say, and a quicker, deep analysis on each player that we're being linked with. So yeah,
all right.
Big up.
So you can find me.
Once again, thank you so much to Forms and Ashmatic for coming on today. We'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.